Welcome back to the site trailer, everyone. Do me a favor and kick the snow off your boots before you come all the way in.
Please.
We've got enough slush on the floor as it is. Grab a coffee, pull up a bucket, an overturned crate, whatever you can find, and get comfortable.
Or as comfortable as you can get.
Yeah, right? Especially while the wind is just absolutely howling outside. You are listening to the Canadian Masonry Podcast, the winter edition. I'm your host, and let me tell you, I am caffeinated to the gills on this sludge we call site coffee, and I am ready to talk shop.
And I'm here as well, currently sitting as close to the propane heater as safety regulations will allow, keeping one eye on the thermometer and the other on the door.
Hoping nobody leaves it open.
Exactly. It is nasty out there today. Genuine Canadian winter has arrived, for sure.
It's brutal. But hey, that is the life we chose, right? We build Canada. We don't just look at it from a warm office window.
That's the truth.
Today, we are speaking directly to you, the apprentices out there. The first years, the second years, the future of the trade. If you're listening to this in your truck, trying to get the feeling back in your fingers, this one is for you. Our mission today is simple. We want to help you survive and thrive on the job site, especially when the weather turns against us. We're going deep into 3 specific materials today: paving stones, glass block, and thin stone veneers.
Right. And looking at that list, you might think, okay, those are 3 completely different animals.
Totally different.
You've got landscaping, you've got, decorative interior or exterior glazing, and you've got vertical cladding. But while the materials are different, the common enemy for all of them right now is the cold.
Always the cold.
We are going to look at the technical specs.
Yeah.
Sure, we have to. But we're going to view them entirely through the lens of winter construction. Because as we all know, you can be the best mason in the world with the steadiest hand. But if you don't respect the temperature, your work is going to fail.
Oh, yeah.
Physics doesn't care how good your trowel skills are.
Absolutely. Physics is undefeated. Now, before we get into the heavy lifting, I have a requirement to fulfill. The crew made me promise to keep the morale up, so I've got to start with a joke to warm us up. You ready for this?
I am bracing myself. I've heard your jokes before. Go ahead.
Why did the mason cross the road?
I don't know why.
To get to the side that was already hoarded and heated?
Okay, see, that one actually hurts because it's too real.
Right.
I would cross a busy highway for heated hoarding right now. Just make sure you guard those space heaters with your life. You know the electricians are always stealing them.
Every single time. You turn your back for 5 minutes to mix a batch of mud, and suddenly the Sparky is walking away with your heater to dry out his boots.
It's a constant battle. It really is.
If you see a Sparky walking away with a heater, you tackle them. That is rule number 1 of winter masonry.
Sure.
Okay, let's get serious. We have a lot of ground cover. We are going to hit paving stones, specifically the ground game, and why winter hates your patio. Then we are moving to thin stone veneers and what we call the magic of the enclosure.
Right.
And finally, glass block, which is way more technical than people think, especially when the mercury drops.
It is. And throughout this, we are going to be dropping some terminology. So keep your ears open for terms like hoarding, ground saw, scrub coat, and polymeric sand.
Yeah.
If you don't know those, by the end of this hour, you're doing push-ups in the snow.
Deal. Let's start with the ground game. Paving stones. Now, I feel like pavers get a bad rap sometimes. A lot of guys in the trade look at it as the easy work,
Oh, yeah.
landscaper work.
Exactly. It's just heavy lifting. It's just throwing rocks on the ground. But if you mess up the base, it's a complete disaster.
That's the biggest misconception in hardscaping. I mean, paving is defined as laying surfacing materials on the ground to create a firm, durable surface.
It's simple. It sounds simple on paper, but you aren't just fighting gravity. You are fighting nature. You are fighting hydrology. The system has 3 main components: the base, the cushion, and the surface. And if you get the first one wrong,
The other 2 don't matter.
the other 2 don't matter at all.
So let's break those down. What are we actually standing on? Because when I walk onto a job site, I just see dirt.
Well, hopefully you don't just see dirt for long. The base is your foundation. It provides support, it handles the load transfer so your driveway doesn't rut. But most importantly in Canada, it provides drainage and frost protection.
That's the key.
It can be rigid, like a concrete slab, or flexible, like compacted crushed stone or gravel. Then on top of that, you have the cushion.
The setting bed.
You might hear the old guys call it the setting bed. This is your sand, screenings, or sometimes mortar. And finally, the surface is the actual unit: clay, concrete, or stone.
You mentioned rigid versus flexible bases. I want to clarify that distinction because it changes how we work. From a bidding perspective, my boss always wants to go flexible because pouring a slab is expensive and time-consuming.
Oh, yeah.
But what's the technical difference?
It changes everything about how the system behaves.
Yeah.
I mean, in a rigid system, the mortared paving,
Mm-hmm.
you are essentially building a wall, but you laid it down flat.
Right.
You are bonding the units with type M mortar to a concrete slab. The joints are full and solid.
Type M. So that's the high-strength stuff.
High strength, high durability.
Yeah.
Because that system is monolithic. It's one giant piece. It doesn't move. Well,
Yeah.
at least it shouldn't.
Right. It's not supposed to.
If the ground underneath that concrete slab moves, the slab cracks, the mortar cracks, and the paver cracks, it is unforgiving.
Which is why we see so many cracked patios in the spring.
Exactly. That's why, in our climate, we lean so heavily toward flexible paving or mortarless paving. This is dry laid on a flexible or semi-rigid base.
Mm-hmm.
You sweep sand into the joints.
Mm-hmm.
The key difference here is that flexible paving accommodates movement. If the ground shifts slightly, and in Canada, the ground always shifts slightly.
Always.
The pavers move with it. They articulate. They settle and rise together rather than snapping. It's the difference between a glass rod and a rubber hose. One snaps, the other bends.
Which brings us to the Canadian reality. Winter. We have a saying on my site, frozen sand is just a rock until it thaws.
That is a profound bit of site wisdom, and it speaks to the biggest enemy of paving in Canada, frost action.
I want to dig into this because I think a lot of apprentices hear frost heave and they just think the ground gets hard. But it's more active than that, isn't it? What is actually happening under our boots physically?
It's physics and it's violent. Frost action isn't just water turning to ice. It's about the formation of what are called ice lenses.
Ice lenses.
Yeah. So when water in the soil freezes, it doesn't just freeze in place. As that ice forms, it creates a suction. It's a capillary action that actually draws more water up from the water table below.
So it's drinking water from the ground.
Exactly. It acts like a pump. So you get this lens of pure ice growing and growing beneath the surface. Water expands by about 9% when it freezes, but because it's drawing in more water, the volume increase can be massive.
Wow.
That expansion creates these huge hydraulic forces that lift the structure. That's frost jacking or heaving. It can lift a whole patio 3 or 4 inches.
And usually it doesn't lift it evenly.
Never. It lifts one corner more than the other. And then comes spring.
The thaw, the season of mud.
When it thaws, that ice lens turns back into water. But now you have this supersaturated void where the ice used to be.
Yeah.
The soil loses all its structural strength. It turns to soup.
Right into mush.
The pavers sink into that soup, and suddenly your nice flat patio looks like a roller coaster. The National Building Code is very clear on this. The bearing surface of a foundation, and a paved area is a type of foundation, needs to be below the level of potential frost damage.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here. Digging below the frost line in Edmonton, that's like 4 feet down. My client wants a patio for a barbecue. They aren't paying me to excavate a basement for their pavers.
You're right. For a simple patio, we aren't going down 4 feet. So if we can't go deep, we have to change the strategy. We have to ensure drainage.
Okay.
If there's no water to freeze, there is no ice lens and no heave. That's why we obsess over the base materials. You need clean, compacted gravel that drains freely.
Got it.
If you have a high water table or clay soils that hold water like a bathtub, and you just slap some pavers on top, you're going to be redoing that job in April. I guarantee it.
So the gravel isn't just there to be hard, it's there to be a drain.
It's a void space for water to move away from the surface. Absolutely.
Talking about drainage leads us perfectly into the new tech that's showing up on every drawing these days, permeable pavers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing this everywhere. Cities are demanding it. This is part of that low-impact development movement, right?
It is. I mean, think about the urban environment. We have covered so much ground with concrete, asphalt, and roofs that rainwater has nowhere to go.
Yeah, it just runs off.
It hits the ground, runs into the street, floods the storm sewers, and carries all the oil and trash with it. Permeable pavers are designed to let that water infiltrate the joints and go back into the soil naturally.
But you can't just lay them like regular pavers. I've seen guys try to treat them the same, and the inspector shuts them down immediately.
No, and this is where apprentices get tripped up. The base is totally different. In a standard paver job, you might use what we call granular A-gravel with some fines or sand mixed in so it packs down hard.
Right, it compacts really well.
With permeable pavers, you need open graded stone. No fines. 0.
We are talking about specific aggregate numbers here. The spec sheet always has these numbers, ASTM this, ASTM that. Can you translate that for the guy holding the shovel?
Sure. The guidelines usually call for an ASTM No. 2 stone for the subbase.
What's that look like?
Picture railroad ballast. Big, chunky rock, maybe 2 to 3 inches, huge gaps between them. Then on top of that, you have ASTM No. 47 for the base reservoir. That's like your standard clear stone, maybe 34-inch to 1 inch.
Okay.
Again, no dust, no sand.
And for the bedding layer, the cushion.
Use ASTM Nontis. Think of it like pea gravel or high-performance bedding, HPB. It's small chips, about 14-inch to 38-inch.
And here's the kicker, and where I see the biggest mistakes happen. The joints. Usually we finish a job by dumping a bag of polymeric sand and sweeping it in to lock everything up.
Do not do that with permeable pavers.
Yeah.
This is the golden rule. Never, ever use polymeric sand or standard masonry sand in the joints of a permeable system.
Why not?
Polymeric sand is designed to turn into a glue and seal water out.
Right.
If you use that, you have just destroyed the entire function of the permeable system. You have turned a drain into a dam.
You've defeated the whole purpose.
The whole purpose. You have to use the same small aggregate, usually that no-date or similar small chip, to fill the joints so water can flow right through.
Let's talk winter maintenance on these bad boys, because I've seen this happen. The client has this fancy new permeable driveway, winter hits, it gets slippery, and the homeowner goes out with a bucket of sand for traction.
Disaster. Absolute disaster. Do not sand permeable pavers. That traction sand will wash into the joints. It will filter down into those nice open voids we just talked about and clog them up.
Plugs the system.
Once those voids are plugged, the water can't get through, the system fails, and now you have a very expensive, non-permeable driveway that heaves in the winter.
So what do? Just salt?
Salt is okay if the paver material can handle it, but you really just want to plow it. And be careful where you pile the snow. Don't pile dirty, grit-filled snow from the street onto the permeable pavers.
Ah, good point.
When that snow melts, all that road grime stays behind and plugs the joints.
So no sand, keep them clean. It's high maintenance in terms of awareness, but it saves the storm sewers.
Okay, let's pivot. We are leaving the ground and going vertical. Let's talk about thin stone veneers.
Or, as the technical manuals call it, adhered concrete masonry veneer, or ACMV.
This stuff is everywhere. Residential, commercial, interior fireplaces. It looks like stone, feels like stone, but it's lightweight and glued to the wall.
It is. It's a great system, but because it's thin, people think it's easy.
That's the danger. It's adhered, meaning stuck on. It's not sitting on a heavy concrete foundation ledge like a full brick wall. It's hanging there by the grace of the chemical bond in the lath. So the preparation of the wall is everything.
It's everything.
We call it the layer cake.
I love cake, but I hate peeling veneers. Walk me through the layers. Let's start at the wood studs.
Okay. Start with the sheathing, usually OSB or plywood. It has to be able to handle expansion without buckling. On top of that, you need the WRB, the water-resistive barrier.
This is the tar paper or the house wrap. And one layer isn't enough, is it?
Not for wood frames.
Yeah.
The code concept here is redundancy. You generally need 2 separate layers of WRB.
Yeah.
Or, 1 layer of building wrap plus a specialized drainage mat.
Why 2? Is paper that cheap?
It's not about cost. It's about bond break and drainage. If you put wet mortar directly against a single layer of paper, and that paper is tight against the wood, the water can soak through.
Right.
Plus, the outer layer of paper might stick to the mortar, and if the wall moves, it rips. With 2 layers, the layers can slide over each other.
Okay, that makes sense.
And more importantly, the idea is that some water will get behind the stone. It's inevitable. You need a way for it to drain down and out without rotting the wood sheathing.
Okay, so we have the paper. Now we need something for the mortar to grab. We can't just throw mud at the paper.
Correct. You need the lath. This is usually a corrosion-resistant metal diamond mesh, or sometimes a glass fiber mesh. But here is the catch. It must be self-furred or installed with self-furring fasteners.
Self-furred. That sounds like my dog in the winter when he sheds. What does that mean for the apprentice holding the staple gun?
It means the lath has little dimples or V-grooves stamped into it. These dimples hold the flat mesh off the wall by about 1/4 inch.
So it's not flat against the wall.
You don't want the mesh flat against the paper like a sticker. You want it floating slightly. So that when you push the mortar in, the mortar squeezes through the holes and wraps all the way around the wires. It encapsulates the lath. It creates a mechanical lock. If the lath is flat against the wall, the mortar just sits on top of it, and the bond is weak. You need that encapsulation.
Got it. So we have the lath up. It's dimpled. It's ready. Now comes the scratch coat.
Right. You apply type N or S mortar You trowel it on, fully embedding that lath. Then you wait for it to get thumbprint hard.
The technical term.
That's the technical term. It's firm enough that if you press your thumb, you leave a print, but it doesn't squish all over. Then you scratch it.
Horizontal or vertical? This is the great debate on such.
It shouldn't be a debate. Horizontal only.
Why? It's easier to just rake it whichever way your arm moves.
Gravity, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
If you scratch it vertically, you are creating little channels, little water slides that run straight down.
Oh, I see.
If water gets back there, it shoots down those grooves and pools at the bottom. Horizontal scratching creates a mechanical key for the next layer of mortar to grab onto, but it acts as a speed bump for water migration.
And then we wait. We don't just start sticking stones on immediately.
No. The scratch coat needs to cure to gain strength and, crucially, to shrink. Mortar shrinks as it dries.
Right.
If you stick the stone on while the scratch coat is still shrinking, you stress the bond. If you are on metal studs, you are waiting 48 hours minimal. If it's natural stone on a different substrate, maybe 24 hours. But you have to let that shrinkage happen before you add the expensive stone.
Okay, the scratch coat is cured. It's time to install, and this is where we get into the scrub coat or back buttering. I see guys trying to shortcut this all the time. They just put a dab of glue in the middle and stick it on, the 5-spot method.
And that is how you get a callback in 6 months. There are 2 approved methods, Method A and Method B, but they both have the same goal: 100% coverage, no voids.
Explain Method A. This is the one most guys know.
Method A is pure back buttering. You take the stone, you flip it over, you apply a scrub coat of mortar to the entire back, not just the edges, not just the spot in the middle. You press the mortar into the pores of the stone.
Okay.
Then you add a setting bed of mortar, you press it on to the scratch coat. But you don't just push, you wiggle it.
The wiggle, it's technical.
It is. You use a rotating motion, pressing hard. You want to see squeeze out. You want mortar oozing out from all sides of the stone. That tells you there are no air pockets behind that stone.
Why do we hate air pockets?
Because air pockets are where water collects. And in Canada, water freezes.
Of course.
If you have a void behind a stone, water gets in, freezes, expands, and pops the stone right off the wall like a champagne cork.
And Method B.
Method B is where you apply mortar to the wall first, then back butter the stone and press them together. It's the belt and suspenders approach.
Okay.
It ensures even better contact, but again, the goal is 0 voids.
Okay, now let's bring it back to the weather. It is January in Edmonton, or Winnipeg, or anywhere north of the border, really.
Anywhere.
You are doing a veneer job. I asked my apprentice to check the forecast for the veneer job the other day. He looked at his phone, looked at me, and said it's partly cloudy with a 100% chance of me staying in the truck.
I hope you docked his pay for that one. Or at least made him buy the donuts.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not wrong about the danger. This is where we talk about the magic of the enclosure.
Hoarding. It's not just a fancy word for a tarp.
No, it's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
The rule is 4 degrees Celsius. If the temperature's below 4 degrees, that's 40 Fahrenheit for our American cousins.
Yeah.
You cannot just work.
You have to stop.
You have to heat the area. And listen to me closely. Not just the air.
Right. I can blow hot air into a tent all day, but if the wall is frozen, solid.
Exactly. The substrate, the wall itself, and the mortar must be kept above 4 degrees. If you put warm mortar on a wall that is negative 10 degrees, the wall acts like a heat sink. It sucks the heat out of the mortar instantly.
And the water freezes.
The water in the mix freezes before the cement can hydrate.
And if it freezes before it sets,
It's dead. The water expands, breaks the chemical bonds of the cement crystals. When it thaws, that mortar will turn to dust. You can scrape it out with a spoon. You have 0 strength.
what about admixtures? I see guys reaching for the antifreeze jugs. Just splash some juice in it, it'll be fine.
Be very, very careful. You can use accelerators if they comply with ASPMC 1384. They speed up the set so the mortar gets hard before it freezes.
Okay.
But, and this is a massive warning, a career-ending warning, never, ever use calcium chloride in a veneer system.
Why? It's cheap, it's fast, it's standard in concrete flatwork.
Because calcium chloride is salt. What does salt do to metal?
It eats it.
It destroys it. Remember that metal lath we just talked about? That thin mesh holding your entire wall up?
Right.
If you use calcium chloride, you are introducing salt right against that metal. You are corroding your lath from the inside out. In a few years, the rust will expand and pop the stones right off the wall, or the whole sheet of lath will detach.
That is a nightmare scenario.
A complete failure.
So, keep it warm, use approved non-chloride accelerators only, and no salt. And here's a practical tip from the guide. Never install a stone that has visible frozen moisture on it.
Right. Even if your mortar is warm, if you pick up a stone from the pile outside and the back has a layer of frost or ice, you can't bond to it.
You're gluing to ice.
You're gluing mortar to ice, not stone. As soon as that ice melts, the bond is gone. The stone needs to be thawed and clean. Put your stones inside the hoarding the night before. Let them acclimate.
That's good advice. Treat your materials like you treat your crew. Keep them warm.
All right, let's move to our third material. It's the comeback kid of the masonry world. Glass block.
I love glass block. It is unique because it is both a masonry unit and a window. It straddles two worlds.
It's not just for 80s bathrooms and Miami Vice sets anymore. I'm seeing some really cool architectural stuff with this.
No, it's actually a high-performance material. Let's look at how it's made. It's not a solid brick of glass.
Right. If it were solid, it would be incredibly heavy and have terrible thermal properties. It's two half blocks fused together. When they fuse them at high heat, the air trapped inside cools and contracts, creating a partial vacuum.
Which gives it insulation value.
Exactly. Thermal insulation and sound deadening. Plus, because it's glass, you get light transmission. It can be clear or opaque for privacy.
Now, I have a question I hear on site all the time, usually about 10 minutes before disaster. Hey, boss, this opening is 3 inches too small. Can I just cut the glass block to fit? I got a diamond blade.
Absolutely not. Put the saw away. Step away from the chop saw.
Say it louder for the guys in the back with the ear protection on.
Cutting is not an option. You cannot cut a glass block. Remember, it's a vacuum-sealed unit. If you cut it, two things happen. One, it might just shatter because of the internal tension. Two, you break the seal.
And it fogs up.
Now it's open to the air. It will fill with condensation, fog up, and look terrible.
So the layout is everything.
The opening must be suited to the block size. You design the hole to fit the brick, not the other way around. If the opening doesn't fit the full blocks, you adjust the opening, or you adjust the perimeter casing. You do not cut the unit.
Let's talk about laying it. It feels different than laying brick, right? I remember the first time I laid glass block, the mortar felt weird, stiffer.
It has to be. Think about a clay brick. You get it wet, it sucks water up like a sponge.
Yeah, it has suction.
That suction pulls the cement paste into the brick and locks it tight. Glass is non-porous. It doesn't absorb a single drop of water.
So if you use a wet, sloppy mortar, like you might for a thirsty clay brick,
the block will just swim. It'll float around. It's like trying to stack wet bars of soap.
Yeah.
You need a mix that is drier and stiffer. The rule of thumb is it needs to stick to the edge of the block when you turn it 90 degrees sideways. If it slides off, it's too wet.
And we have two ways to keep them straight: spacers or freehand.
Spacers are great for speed and keeping things uniform. They act like tile spacers, little plastic crosses. They make the joints consistent. But the guide mentions a downside. On exterior walls, spacers can be a path for water penetration.
Because it breaks the bond.
The plastic goes all the way through the joint. It breaks the mortar bonds.
So for a high-end exterior job where weatherproofing is critical, you might want to go freehand.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
But freehand with glass block requires a skilled hand and patience. Because the mortar doesn't set quickly. Remember, no water absorption by the block to dry out the mortar. You can't just run the wall up 4 feet in an hour.
If you go too high, too fast.
The weight of the blocks will squeeze the wet mortar out of the bottom joints. We call it swimming.
Right.
You'll come back from lunch, and your wall will be bowed out or slumped. You have to lay a few courses, stop, let it set, then come back. It forces you to take your time.
Now, connecting this to our winter theme, glass is sensitive.
Very sensitive.
Yeah.
Glass block has a high expansion rate. It moves a lot with temperature changes.
A lot.
And in the winter, the curing process is delicate. You cannot just tarp it and hope. The bond between the glass and the mortar is purely mechanical. It's just gripping that rough, coated edge of the glass. If it freezes, that bond breaks instantly.
And because it expands and contracts so much, we need to talk about the perimeter. You don't just mortar the block right to the steel frame of the building.
Never. That is a recipe for an explosion of glass. If the building frame settles or the glass expands from the sun and there is no room to move, crack.
Pops it right out.
You need isolation. You use expansion strips, usually thick polyethylene foam at the sides and the top.
Yeah.
The block never touches the structural frame directly. It sits in a cradle of foam. It needs room to breathe and move.
And what about the code on this? I've had customers ask if they can use glass block to hold up a roof. It looks strong, they say.
No. The National Building Code is clear. Glass blocks are non-load-bearing. They carry their own weight, and that's it.
That's it.
You need a lintel, a steel or concrete beam above them to carry the structure of the house. The glass block is just a curtain.
And even though they aren't load-bearing, they need reinforcement. We aren't just stacking them.
They do. They need horizontal reinforcement steel ladder wire in the joints. Usually every other course, or every course depending on the size and wind load, this is to handle lateral loads.
Lateral loads meaning wind.
Wind pressure, or even someone leaning against it. If a 100-kilometer wind hits that glass wall, the mortar bond alone isn't enough to stop it from blowing in. The steel wire acts like the skeleton.
Holds it all together.
It holds it together in tension.
It also acts as a fire separation, right? That's usually why architects spec it in commercial buildings.
It can. It acts as a closure. It can have a fire resistance rating, usually up to 1 hour. But again, that depends entirely on proper installation with the right fire-rated sealants and anchors. If you skip the anchors, the fire rating is void.
Okay, we are entering the final stretch here. Section 4. The code corner. I know. Everyone's eyes glaze over when we say code.
That's that part.
But this is the boring but deadly stuff. If you miss this, buildings rot, mold grows, and lawsuits happen.
It comes down to two things: moisture and structural integrity. Let's talk flashing.
The unsung hero of the wall.
Flashing isn't just a piece of bent metal, it's a thermal break and a moisture diverter. The code says flashing must go beneath weep holes, and this is the part guys miss, it must extend past the outer face of the wall. It needs a drip edge.
You see this all the time. The flashing is cut flush with the brick because it looks cleaner.
And it's wrong. If it's flush with the wall, the water drips off the flashing, runs back underneath due to surface tension, and dribbles down the face of the wall.
Stains everything.
It stains the brick. Or worse, finds a way back in.
Yeah.
You need that little lip sticking out to force the water to drip away from the masonry.
Kick it out.
And clearances.
Yeah.
We touched on this with veneers, but it applies generally. You can't bury your masonry in the dirt.
No. The general rule is 4 inches, so 100 millimeters, clearance from earth-grade dirt, grass, and 2 inches, 50 millimeters, from paved surfaces like sidewalks.
Why? Is it just so the mower doesn't hit the brick? That helps. But no, it's about wicking. Masonry's a sponge. If it's touching the dirt, it will wick moisture up from the ground constantly.
All day long.
Then winter hits, that moisture freezes, expands, and spalls the face of your brick or stone. That's why you see crumbling bricks right at the ground level on old houses. They didn't have that clearance. They are eating water and spitting out dust.
And finally, lateral support. Ties.
The veneer, whether it's brick, stone, or glass block, must be tied to the backing. The veneer handles the weather. The backing handles the structure.
Right.
The ties transfer the wind loads and earthquake forces from the pretty face to the strong bones. If you skimp on ties or space them too far apart, the wall effectively peels off in a windstorm.
Or an earthquake. And yes, we do have those.
We do. Don't be the guy who saved $50 on ties and cost the client $50,000 on a collapsed wall.
All right, that was a deep dive. My coffee is cold, and I think I can see my breath inside the trailer now.
I think so.
Let's recap the big lessons before the propane runs out and we all freeze.
Let's summarize.
For paving stones, it's all about the base. Physics is the boss. If you have frost heaving, you didn't drain it right. The ice lens is stronger than your patio.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are doing permeable, keep the sand away. No sand, no salt.
For thin veneers, the layer cake matters. 2 layers of WRB, because wood rots. And get that scrub coat right, 100% coverage, wiggle it until you see a squeeze out.
Gotta see the squeeze.
And please, for the love of the trade, heat that hoarding. 4 degrees or bust, no calcium chloride.
And for glass block, do not cut it, put the saw away.
Don't do it.
It's a vacuum bottle. Treat it gently. Isolate it from the frame with foam so it can move, and give it time to cure because it doesn't drink water.
The common thread here, if we look at the bigger picture, is temperature control.
That's it.
Whether it's the ground freezing under your pavers, or the mortar freezing behind your veneer, or the glass block shocking and losing its board, Canadian winters do not forgive lazy prep.
You can't cheat the cold. You can cheat the clock sometimes, you can cheat the budget maybe, but you can't cheat the cold.
You cannot. You have to design for it and you have to build for it.
Well said. All right, apprentices, that is your lesson for today. Get back to work, check your hoarding, check your temperatures, and check your buddy.
And stop stealing the electrician's heaters. Seriously.
Leave them alone. Buy your own. All right, remember, if you're cold, your mortar is freezing. Keep it warm, keep it plumb, and keep it Canadian. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay safe out there.